What does the Bible say that you're going to take out of the land? It says this in Ezekiel 38:12 and 13. They're going to come and they're going to take lamb, they're going to take livestock, and they're going to take the things that are in the land that the Bantu people have acquired when they came down to sub-Saharan Africa. What is that? Raw materials, natural gas, oil, minerals, food, things that the other nations desire in Africa are the minerals, the natural gas, the oil, the food security, the trading with people in Africa so that we can be consumers and cheap labor workers for their businesses. And so when you look at all these things, it says in Ezekiel 38:13, it says, "Have thou gathered thy company to take a prey, to carry away silver and gold, to take away cattle and the possessions of the Israelites?" In the Hebrew, it's kinyan. Possessions means wealth, land. So when these other nations come to Africa, they're taking the possessions of what the Bantu people naturally have inherited. The wealth and raw materials in the land, the trees, the timber, the agriculture, everything, they're taking it for their wealth and their prosperity and food security. And says, it even says that
What's the significance of the angels?
so here's the thing. Just like the cherubim guarded the Ark of the Covenant, the mercy seat, when they had the tabernacle, and the same thing, the cherubim guarded the Garden of Eden, the entrance. These represents holy places or sites. The temple, the holy temple, the tabernacle, the Garden of Eden are all holy sites to God and to the Israelites. Now, the interesting thing is that in the book of Jubilees, it says in chapter 8, verse 17 to 19, that the three sacred holy sites is the Garden of Eden, Mount Sinai, where God communicated with Moses on the top, and Mount Zion. It says that these three places, are depicted as forming the navel of the earth, or the center facing one another. Now, the navel is also used in the Bible as like the center, or tavik in the Hebrew. And when you look at the Congo, the word Katiopa in the Kikongo language means the center, the navel. And the word that they use to describe the Congo also is Zeta Dianza. Zeta Dianza means the center of the world, of the earth. And this is exactly how we look at Jerusalem and Mount Zion. Now, the interesting thing about Mount Zion being in the territory of Jerusalem, and Jerusalem is in the center of the earth, we see that in Central Africa that you have you have high mountains, and there's one particular mountain that is a mountain that's not formed by volcanic eruptions and ash buildup. It is a block mountain called the Rwenzori Mountains, or the Mountains of the Moon, or the Rainmaker. And the Rwenzori Mountains, the foot of the Rwenzori Mountains is at the Uganda-Congo border. Now, why am I saying all this? Because the land of Canaan, let's get back to that, is the land of the Israelites. And if it is in sub-Saharan Africa, or the land of Yam, or the land of the south, then in the Bible, we should see directions of how the Israelites traveled south along their Exodus route to the land of Canaan. Well, in Numbers chapter 20, the Israelites are traveling through the wilderness, and they run into Edom or Esau. And they ask Edom or Esau, can we travel by your way to get to the land of Canaan? And Edom says, no, you cannot. And so they have to go around the land of Edom. In Numbers chapter 21, it says, the next chapter, it says, and this is after the Israelites had passed going around Edom, it says, and when the king Arad, the Canaanite, which dwelt in the south, heard tell that Israel came by the way of the spies, then he fought against Israel and took some of them prisoners. And it says in verse 4 that, and they, meaning the Israelites, journeyed from Mount Hor by the way of the Nile River, the Reed Sea, or the River of Reeds. It says that in the Hebrew that the Israelites journeyed and took the path of the Nile River. In the English, it says Red Sea, but in the Hebrew, it's Yam Suf. Yam Suf is not the Red Sea. The Red Sea is derived from a Greek Latin word, erythema or erytheus. Like when you have a rash, it's erythematous. The Erythraean Sea or ocean was not a thing until the 1st century AD, 2,000 years ago. So at the time of Esau and Jacob and the Israelites, there was no such thing called the Red Sea because it's a Latin Greek word. Erythema, erytheus, ocean or sea, aka the Red Sea. But in the Bible sense, it is the Nile River. So it says in Numbers chapter 21 that the Israelites journeyed by the pathway of the Nile River to go around the land of Edom. So when we look at this, we have to ask ourselves, well, where is the land of Edom according to the Bible and Google today? The land of Edom, when you look at the map on Google, it is in modern-day Israel, like in the south, but it is nowhere near today's Red Sea, and it is nowhere near the Nile River. So how can the land of Edom on Google today be near the Nile River? Well, the land of Edom on Google in the territory that you look at on images, it is not even nowhere near the Gulf of Aqaba. And the Gulf of Aqaba is not the Red Sea. It's not the Erythraean Sea. So what land of Edom really are they talking about? So here's the thing. Now here we're going to get to Ezekiel 38.
Back to Ezekiel 38, yeah.
Yeah. So the Bible tells us that in Daniel chapter 2 that the Greeks and the Romans, their empires fell. And a new race of people came and conquered Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Europe. Germanic people, Turkic people, like your Arabs today, your white Arabs today, and your Jews today. And the Germanic people dwell in Western, Eastern Europe and the Isles, Magog. Now we look at the timeline that we're in today. Back in the old days, after Europe was conquered and you had the Eastern Roman Empire, Western Roman Empire, and you had the evolution of the European countries, the EU 27, you see that slavery started. Slavery and colonization of Africa. And who came to Africa? The Europeans did. The Germans, the French, the British, the Dutch, the Spanish, the Portuguese. These nations came. Along with the United States, they also participated in slavery in America. And the black Arabs came and enslaved the Bantu people in East Africa. Okay, so we have these Europeans that are wreaking damage in Africa, enslaving Bantu people, Israelites, and then colonizing the land, dividing the land, parting people up. So now we see in this day and time, not just the Europeans are putting their footstool and colonizing, spoiling, preying upon the people in the land and looting the land. It's newcomers. Who are the newcomers now? The Chinese, the Indians, the Russians.
Is that all in the Bible? Do you
It's
find
in the
that
Bible.
in the Bible?
And here's the thing. We have to use matter of exclusion.
Okay.
Because when we look at Africa's biggest trade partner today, is China. Second is India. Now, we can say the European Union countries collectively is the largest trade partner for Africa, but when you're looking at countries alone, China's number one, India's number two, and then you have what you want to call the United States, France, Germany, and then Russia is at the 15th mark.
Okay.
And we know that these nations, Russia, China, the Arabs, the Jews, but specifically Russia and China, they're not speaking a Germanic language. They're not speaking Hebrew language. They're not speaking a Latin or Italian language. They're not speaking a Hamitic African language. They're not speaking a Shemitic language like Arabic or Hebrew. They're speaking a Japhetic language, but they're not Greeks and Romans. So that means that they have to be the descendants of Gomer, Magog, Meshach, and Tubal. But what about the Persians? The Persians are in Ezekiel 38:5. Well, the word Persia comes from the word Ariana. And Ariana or Aryan is what the northern Indians classified themselves back in ancient times. If you look at the ancient Hindu Vedic texts and the Avesta of the religion of the Zoroastrianism, old Persian religion, you'll see that the word Arya or Ariana or Aryan derives from an old Persian word for a people that were the originators of the old Persian religion and its text, the Avesta, and later you have the Hindu Vedic text, which is like the downstream. So the people in Iran today, they are descendants of Turks from Central Asia, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan. They are not the descendants of the real Persians. If you go to the palace of Susa in Iran, you will see that the Persians were people with melanin. They were melanated people. The Iranians today are not melanated, but people in India are. And the languages of the people in North India, like Gujarati, Sindh, Punjabi, and Pakistani languages, they are all connected to the old Persian languages.
Okay.
And I put this in the movie. So here we go through the descendants of Russia, Meshach and Tubal, the European Union, 27 countries, including the United States of America, Magog. We have Gomer, who the Chinese and the Koreans say that they are the descendants of Gomer. The Chinese, in their ancient literature, before they were practicing Buddhism and different things, they said in their oral history they are descendants of Japheth, son Gomer. Even the Koreans say that they are descendants of Japheth, son Gomer. Gomer, China. China is now where? In Israel, looting and plundering and preying upon the people and what they have on the land? No, they're in sub-Saharan Africa. When you look at the word spoil...
Hold on, Ron. So I'm guessing you're saying they are in sub-Saharan Africa looting, as you put it.
Mm-hmm.
Is this referenced from the Bible?
From the Bible, from their genealogy and ethnic lineage.
Yeah, but now what does the scripture say?
The scripture uses words that are not per se China or Russia, because China and Russia are not Hebrew words.
No, we get that.
Yeah.
We get that. You won't find the word China. You won't
Right.
find the word Russia. But now you try to link them
Right.
in their genealogy and
Right.
their history,
Right.
right? So what does it say their role will be
Oh,
in Africa
here it goes.
in the
Here
last
it goes.
days
Here
or
it
the
goes.
end times?
Here it goes. So it says that in the last days, it said that the Israelites need to be prepared and prepare thyself and be on guard against these other nations. Because it says in the latter days or in the future that these nations are going to leave their land and come to the land of a people dwelling in peace, rest, and safety in unwalled villages without bars nor gates. And they're going to come like a cloud to cover the land with all their people. And they are going to say and have an evil thought or an evil device, an evil scheme or evil agenda. And they're going to say, let us go to this land and let us take a spoil. When you spoil a land, you take the things in that land by force, by coercion, or by craft. You don't have to just use the military and take it. You can use craftiness and coercion to get the things that you need out of the land. What does the Bible say that you're going to take out of the land? It says this in Ezekiel 38:12 and 13. They're going to come and they're going to take lamb, they're going to take livestock, and they're going to take the things that are in the land that the Bantu people have acquired when they came down to sub-Saharan Africa. What is that? Raw materials, natural gas, oil, minerals, food, things that the other nations desire in Africa are the minerals, the natural gas, the oil, the food security, the trading with people in Africa so that we can be consumers and cheap labor workers for their businesses. And so when you look at all these things, it says in Ezekiel 38:13, it says, "Have thou gathered thy company to take a prey, to carry away silver and gold, to take away cattle and the possessions of the Israelites?" In the Hebrew, it's kinyan. Possessions means wealth, land. So when these other nations come to Africa, they're taking the possessions of what the Bantu people naturally have inherited. The wealth and raw materials in the land, the trees, the timber, the agriculture, everything, they're taking it for their wealth and their prosperity and food security. And it even says
Where
that,
are you reading now? Where are you reading
this is
now?
Ezekiel 38, verse 12 and 13.
Okay, carry on.
It even says that when we dwell in peace, rest, and safety, will thy not know it? Because it says that in the land of Canaan, we will have peace, rest, and safety, but these other nations are going to come. Now, let's go back to the silver and gold. And the descendants of Put and Cush are going to be with them. And that's in Ezekiel 38:5. When the first coup happened in Burkina Faso in September 2022, a couple months after that, the president of Ghana said that the coup paid the Russian mercenaries Wagner group with gold. And here we are today, a second coup happened. Ibrahim Traore is the leader of that coup. And up until now, the Russian company Nordgold has acquired 4 of the largest gold mines in Burkina Faso. And they negotiated a deal where the Russians keep 85 to 90% of the mining profits, and Burkina Faso gets 10 to 15%. That's a staggering number.
And this is supposed to be a friend of Africa.
Exactly.
Right?
How can you be a friend if I got the gold in my land and you're saying, okay, give me permission to mine the gold. I take 90, you take 10%. I take 85, you take 10%. Take it or leave it. How can somebody be a friend? It's not even 50-50.
And we've seen these things happening. I mean, it happened here in Botswana with the diamond.
Exactly.
The government and De Beers, right?
Yeah, and the same thing is happening in Mali. They give them rights to mine gold, the Russians, and they just plunder the land of the gold. Where does the gold go? The gold doesn't stay in the land. The gold has to go out for processing and refinery. It goes to the UAE. And the UAE then do what they got to do, refine it, stamp it, and it goes to the global worldwide distribution for those that want to buy the gold from the Burkina Faso, either at a market level price, at a market price, or the cheap price. Because they're all friends at the end of the day.
Okay, continue.
So
this is the deal they have with Russia.
Yeah, so when you look at and see Russia is slowly increasing its teeth and grip on Africa. China's already there dominating. You can go to Botswana.
Would this then be Magog?
This is a Put and Cush.
Okay. No. I'm talking about Russia.
Russia is Meshach and Tubal.
But when we speak of Gog and Magog,
Magog is the European Union, 27 countries, and United States of America.
Okay.
Gomer is China. Put and Cush are your Sahel, Black Muslim tribes, non-Bantu tribes that are mostly living in the Sahel regions, all the way to the land of Sudan. And then lastly, Persia, a.k.a. the controllers of the Indian country and government, North Indians, not the Dravidians, the Aryans, they are also in Africa. If you don't believe me, go to East Africa, go to Botswana, go to South Africa, go to these countries. You'll see the Indians are dominating. The Chinese are dominating.
So I'm having a look at this map.
Yeah, that's what they want you to believe.
Okay.
On Google.
So you'd say this is incorrect, right?
It's incorrect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have a look at this map.
Yeah.
and just try to correct it for us. Looking
Yeah.
at those locations,
So
they say Put is Algeria, I think, and Tunisia
yeah.
or
So
Libya.
the land of Put is Libya. It's not Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco. It's not that. Matter of fact, in the Book of Jubilees, in the Ethiopic version, it says that the land of Canaan is all the land that's west of the land of Put, Libya, and it extends along all the coastlines of Africa. So it goes all the way along the coast of the North Atlantic Ocean, beyond the equator to the South Atlantic Ocean, going along the Bight of Biafra, the Bight of Benin or Beni. It goes all the way down to South Africa. It comes back up around the coast of Mozambique and then to the Horn. And it says that the land of Canaan is south. The land of Canaan is south of the land of Cush, and it extends to the beginning of the Nile and the mountains of fires, and it continues to where the sun meets the horizon. The sun meets the horizon. When you look at the Cape Town, you look at the ocean, and you see the sun over the horizon. That's why they call it the horizon dwellers. The land of the south, or the land of sub-Saharan Africa, was once known as the land of the horizon dwellers. To see the horizon, you have to either be standing on an open plain in like Tanzania or some land in Africa, and you can see the sun on the horizon, or you can stand on the edge of South Africa and look at the water and see the sun on the horizon. That's why it's called the land of Yama, the land of the South. But when you look at everything from a big picture, you see that the Bible says that the other nations are supposed to spoil and prey upon the people of Canaan, the Israelites. But none of these other nations, Russia, China, India, the European Union countries, the United States, the Arabs, the Jews, none of them are actively trying to spoil and loot, exploit, and prey upon the people in Israel or the land and its raw materials, because Israel has nothing. So the only thing happening in Israel right now is war and devastation.
This is what they usually go for. These people that are against your narrative or your understanding of the scriptures and the locations. They say, where's the temple?
Then I say, does anybody have a picture or video of the temple?
They wail, they cry
And
at the
and
temple
and
walls.
that wall is the remains of a Roman fortress wall called Fort Antonia. Fort Antonia is only about 2,000 years old, and the other part of the wall of Fort Antonia was destroyed. If you look at the Wailing Wall, you'll see all different types of bricks. They're not uniform. They're not the same color. They're not the same stone. That lets you know that it can't be the wall of the holy temple of the Israelites. The holy temple of the Israelites was made with uncut stone, and it was made from one particular stone, not just a whole bunch of blocks just stacked up upon one another, one small, one's big. It's not like that. So people have to understand that when we look at modern-day Israel, we're looking at another foreign land that the Greeks and the Romans concocted. Because at the end of the day, mankind can change names of places and he can call Hebron, Bethlehem, Jerusalem. He can put that on the map in South Africa and say, hey, this is where Jerusalem's at. This is where Hebron, Bethlehem. He can put it over here, but we have to understand that in terms of books and maps, mankind has the ability to add, change, delete, hide. But when you talk about factual evidence, like why is the word giraffe in the Bible? Why is the word lion in the Bible? Leopard, ostrich, hyena, jackal, wolf, crocodile, elephant. Why are they all in the Bible? Wild bull. A wild bull is not a domesticated bull. It's a African buffalo, a wildebeest. Wild ass. What is a wild ass? A donkey is domesticated. What is a wild donkey? It's a zebra. Why is the word monocorus or rhinoceros in the Bible, but then they changed it to unicorn in the King James English version? A unicorn is not real. A rhinoceros is real. It has one horn on its nose. Rhinoceros. It's in the Greek Septuagint. They changed it to unicorn, but we read it like, okay, unicorn. What does that mean? Unicorn is a mythological animal with a horn on its forehead. When we look at the DNA of the Bantu people, it is not seen in Israel. If we are the Israelites, why isn't our DNA from the father or the mother seen in Israel? If we lived there for thousands of years and died there, our skeletons are in the ground, why isn't our DNA found in any archaeological genetic studies? Because the true land of Canaan is in sub-Saharan Africa. This is the land that the Bantu people say we left Egypt and came south. Most Bantu people ain't gonna say we left Egypt, we went northeast. Then we left northeast and came back to Egypt and then came back down south. Matter of fact, Mapanga says that we were here, we went to Egypt, came back down. Well, that will also fit the biblical narrative because the Israelites were in Canaan with Jacob and his 12 sons. And then when Joseph went into Egypt, he was sold into Egypt. Then Jacob and his 11 sons and their wives and kids, they came into Egypt from the land of Canaan. And then they left Egypt after the Exodus. So even with Mapanga saying that we have stories that we were here, down here, we went to Egypt, stayed there, and then left and came back down, that fits the biblical narrative as well, and the DNA supports that. The last thing is that when the Israelites were in Egypt, they were walking around and mingling and intermarrying with the Egyptians, the Cushites, and the Puttites. Just walking around intermarrying. I got an Israelite daddy. He speaks Hebrew. My mama's an Egyptian. She speaks Egyptian. And that socialization and admixture is going to show forth in the language and the culture, the traditions, the dress, the leopard skins, the cheetah skins, the ostrich feather, all these things that the Bantu people still have today, even the staffs that have the little circle on the top. That's an Egyptian staff. Even the staffs, even the way that they do certain things that are said in the Bantu language is Egyptian. There's an Egyptian substrate in the Bantu language, and the superstrate is the Hebrew language seen in Swahili, in Kikongo, in the Ewe language, in the Bantu languages. Yes, it's there. And the one thing we fail to understand is that when the Israelites did all this mixing and living amongst the Egyptians and Cushites and Canaanites and Puttites, we should see DNA haplogroups in the Bantu people in Israel to attest for a mixed multitude leaving Egypt with Moses. A mixed multitude means that they were Egyptians, Cushites, Canaanites, Puttites that left with Moses that were either married to a Hebrew Israelite woman or a Hebrew Israelite man. But the DNA of these other nations and their admixture is not seen in Israel. For instance, EM96 is not seen in Israel. EM75 with the mutation M54 and 41 is not seen in Israel. There's a lot of DNA haplogroups that is of Canaanite or Pygmy Bantu admixture, like Y-DNA B2A and Y-DNA B2B. These haplogroups that are seen by the ancient Pygmies, and the Pygmies today, and the Khoisan, they're not seen in Israel. So if the Pygmies are the Canaanites, as well as the Khoisan, why isn't their DNA seen in Israel? Where's the Y-DNA A1B1A, the Y-DNA A1B1B, the maternal DNA L0D, L0K, L0A, L1C, L2B, L3? Where is it at in Israel? It's not in Israel.
Okay. In closing, Ron, I've heard someone claim that the temple, the city, it is somewhere around Botswana, Namibia.
Namibia, right.
You've heard that?
Yes.
Is there any truth to that?
Well, the problem with that is that Namibia and Botswana are not encircled by mountains. In Ezekiel 36, it says the high mountains of Israel, you will have refuge. You will eat off the mountains, the fruit. You will eat and lie down. It says this, but in Botswana and Namibia, it's not a land that is surrounded by high mountains. Namibia is near the coast of the Atlantic Ocean, so therefore, coastal lands are not going to be mountainous lands.
Yeah.
You're going to see mountainous lands going towards the inland.
Yeah.
And Botswana and Namibia is not the center of the earth. The equator is way up north, and the meridian line does not cut through Botswana, either the first meridian line that the Egyptians had or even the meridian line you have today.
But there could be exceptions, Ron. A mountainous coastal land
No, no,
like
no.
Cape Town. It's
Well,
mountainous.
but it's mountainous, but in one area. It's not like a circle of mountains encompass
Okay.
southern Africa.
Okay. In closing,
Mm-hmm.
we didn't have enough time to explore the whole prophecy thing.
Yes.
But what we do now on the channel is that we have a guest and then we invite them over for a live stream where the audience
Yes.
can engage them. So I would want to invite you for that,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll take this conversation further. But coming out of what we had to speak about today, what do you want a person who's watching, who's listening, to come out with?
Well, the Bible already warned us, and it tells us that we as Israelites need to be prepared and on guard, and prepare thyself and all those people that are assembled unto thee against particular nations. That in the Bible, you're not going to see these nations listed today on the map in the world today. But when the Bible references these nations, it's up to us to do the research to find out who are the descendants of Gomer, Magog, Meshach, Tubal, Togarmah, Persia, Cush, and Put. Once we do that, then we will see that the true land of Canaan is in sub-Saharan Africa. And why? Because the nations that are connected to these ancient biblical nations in Ezekiel 38 and Genesis chapter 10 are the people of Russia, China, India, the European Union, 27 countries, United States of America, the white Arabs, the white Jews, Pakistan. Yes, they're in sub-Saharan Africa doing exactly what Ezekiel 38 says. They're not in Israel. That's a red flag. And at the end of the day, we have to always come to the fact that it is not the land of Israel. God told the Israelites to possess the land of Canaan. God told the Israelites to possess the land of Canaan, not the land of Israel. So we have to address who are the Canaanites today, which many of the Israelite leaders will not debate me on. They will not do this. Well, no, Ron, we won't debate on that. And the reason is because once you find out who are the Canaanites today in the world, who are they, what name do they go by, where do they say they are indigenous to, what land, what is their DNA haplogroups, is it seen in Israel, then we start to have a problem now of, okay, these Canaanites today, the real Canaanites, are not in Israel. They never been there. Their DNA's not there. They don't say they ever lived there. So we need to pay attention to this. But unfortunately, the Christian church and the Israelite community does not want to address where the Canaanites are. And that's why I always say I challenge any Israelite leader. Y'all know who you are. I couldn't name names, but you guys teach about DNA and saying that our DNA, E1, B1A, is connected to the Levant, to Israel, but don't put up any scientific genetic articles to prove this. ChatGPT is not the end-all, because ChatGPT will tell you that the Canaanites are the Lebanese people, the Palestinians. So how can the Canaanites be white Arabs when their brothers are the people in South Sudan, the Borana, the Somalians, the Oromo, the Beja, the Afar, the people in Libya, the people in the Sahel, the Tuareg, the Hausa, the Fulani, the Dogon? How can they tell us that the Canaanites are the Palestinians and Lebanese people when they're children of Cush, Luau, the different Luau tribes, the children of Put, and the children of Egypt? We know they were black. So ChatGPT is not the 100% gold standard, because we know that the children of Ham should be black, not white Arabs. So at the end of the day, we have to use logic and critical thinking when we look into the Bible and peruse the Bible, because the Bible has been changed. They had changed words around. And the Bible, like the Torah, is not in chronological order. Anybody can read it with precision, and they can see that the Torah is not in chronological order. And it messes up how we view the Exodus route and how we left from Egypt and went south. And did we pass by Edom? Where's Edom at today? Where's the Dead Sea or the Salt Sea? Is it the Salt Sea in Ethiopia or the Salt Sea or Dead Sea in Israel? And all these things like Sodom and Gomorrah, and these things we have to pay attention. The land of Moab, all these things we can look at with a fine-tooth comb and see that it's actually when we compare to reality, it is in sub-Saharan Africa and the Horn. And DNA proves that Esau's remnant and the Moabites' remnant and the Ammonites' remnant, you can find their DNA and their people and the landmarks in sub-Saharan Africa and the Horn, because this is where the Israelites traversed through when they were exiting from Egypt, through the land of Moab, the plains of Jordan, around the land of Edom, to get to the land of the south, which is the land of Canaan, the land of Yam, the land where the horizon dwellers, the land of little black people, the land of the honey collectors, because there's trees down in sub-Saharan Africa, and the little black people, they climb the trees and they smoke out the bees. They come down with the honeycomb and they eating it. The Hadza, the Batwa, they eat the honey every day. It's a delicacy because the land of Canaan is the land of honey and a land of milk. And all the livestock that you see in Africa, not in Israel, there's so much livestock in Africa that's being exported to other countries. So Africa is an exporter of livestock because it is a land of milk and honey. So we got to start paying attention. And like I said, we can do a live stream, and I will take all the questions from all the leaders. Come on to the live, like I did with Bishop Nathaniel, and ask me questions. I'm not going to call you a bum or a Negro. I'm not going to say it's not relevant to the topic. I'm going to say, let's go with the questions. I'm not afraid to answer questions.
You had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
I see you're so passionate about this, but we'll host Ron again.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for being here on Something Nice with Dinano. Do the right thing. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button. If you enjoy the content, if you find value and knowledge and nourishment from the words of Brother Ron Dalton, hit the like, share, leave a comment, and we will make sure that we keep bringing guests like Ron through, and you'll be able to engage them on this platform, on a live stream. We'll give it about 2 weeks to go. After the 2 weeks is over, we'll invite Ron, and then you can engage them on this one. Your last words,
If
Ron?
you do not believe me and you say, where's the proof? Then go to www.h2ntv.com. Don't go to YouTube because they mess with my channel. Go to www.h2ntv.com. You say, well, Ryan doesn't read scripture. He has no proof. He has no evidence, no facts to back up what you say. Go to h2ntv.com. It's all there. It's up to you to do the research.
h2ntv.com. That's where it's at. Maybe next time we'll have a conversation on why we have to have our own platform
Exactly.
to push
You got to.
our message.
Yeah.
It's been good. It's been nice. Thank you for being with us on Something Nice with Dinano. I am Dinilo Hlangamekuto, and thank you to Ron Dalton and Jordan. Shout out to Jordan. Do the right thing. Share, like, subscribe, comment. See you next time.
See you next time. Shalom.